Embattled State Governor of Kano, Abba Yusuf, has rejected the Governorship Election Petition Tribunal's decision, which declared his opponent the winner. He also vowed to appeal against what he described as unfair and a miscarriage of justice. It was gathered that the tribunal on Wednesday declared Dr. Nasiru Gawuna of the All Progressive Congress as the rightful winner of the March 18 governorship election. Yusuf, who contested on the banner of the New Nigeria People's Party and NPP, urged his supporters to remain calm. Earlier, Gloria Okolugbo, the 2023 House of Representative candidate of NNPP for Abuja South Federal Constituency, shared her thoughts on this development.
That judgment, and I think the sensibilities of the peoples of Kano need to be taken into close consideration. Kano, for one, everybody can attest that Kano State is a clear-cut NNPP state. It's not in dispute. Now, the court is not Father Christmas. It's what comes before the court and the tribunal they will examine. But there is no way on the face of the earth that you will tell us that all the votes that were not signed all came from NNPP. It's like it's a selective kind of judgment, and it's a complete miscarriage of justice. And it's good that we have two steps to go. We have the Court of Appeal and we have the Supreme Court. And like the governor just said, he has called for calm. It's a peace-loving community. Kano State is in one voice elected this governor. And it's for me, I would rather be talking from the perspective of a conflict resolution, conflict management person. We have to be very, very careful, because if we don't have a country to govern, we will not be able to have anything to govern. So when we see the early warning signals and we want to ensure that justice must be carried out, and it must be seen to be carried out.
Let's talk a little more on this development. We're now joined on the news by Dr. Adedayo Kayode, socio-political technocrat. Doctor, thank you very much for joining us. I think maybe you're muted. If you can unmute and just go ahead and give us your assessment of the ruling.
I'm not muted.
Okay.
Are you hearing me now?
Okay, I can hear you now. Go ahead, sir. Now? Yes, go ahead.
Yes. Yeah, you see, it's a very good thing that we are discussing this issue at this time of our national political history. And I will not want to go from where your first commentator talked about, because clearly we know is a member of NNPP and also a legislator. Even though what she has said is very, very right. How can you subject that all the votes that were not duly signed belong to NNPP? Having said that, it even went beyond that by talking about non-compliance with electoral guidelines of INEC. When you are talking of non-compliance, now listen to me. What does that portend for the last judgment by the Presidential Election Tribunal? And I am also waiting for the Lagos State Governorship Tribunal too, what are going to talk about non-compliance of APC as regards electoral guidelines in between the APC and then the one contravened by PDP. So what we are saying now is this country belongs to everybody. There mustn't be anything like selective judgment. Nothing like selective judgment. What is good for the goose is also good for the gander. Now you have given a judgment that is against a governor that was duly elected by the people of Kano State. No doubt about it. Yes, Kano State is strategic to all political parties. But the question is, was this particular candidate duly elected by the people of Kano State? If that is the case, why are you now using the backdoor judgment to bring in somebody else But then those of us in Lagos, we are also waiting because you have now talked about non-compliance with the guidelines of INEC. As regards conduct of primaries. Number two, as regards duly signed and stamped a form that you submitted to INEC, was that also complied to?
Dr. Kayode, I mean, there are so many issues. We know that sometimes with the interpretation that legal experts bring up is the fact that these rulings come from technicality and not per se that the person lost out outrightly. And that's the argument that the deposed governor is saying. He is saying now, sorry, sir, let me land. He is saying now that based on the feedback from his legal team, that the judgment was marred by human imperfections and misapplication of the law. So he's going to seek justice at the Court of Appeal. Do you expect that, the Court of Appeal might interpret the technicalities in the favor of the deposed governor?
It's a very simple thing, which I will also put that question across to you. Is it justifiable for you to leave substance of the case as for technicalities? Are you supposed to be looking at technicalities, or you look at the substances?
But this is a court of law, doctor. This is a court of law. We are bound by the law. So if the law says...
It's supposed to be guided. Listen, court of law is supposed to be guided by rules and regulations, guidelines. They set down rules by the Constitution. And that's what we're talking about here. Okay,
so now, one court, this is just the judgment of one tribunal. The governor now says he is going to the appeals court. And my question to you is, I mean, whether we like it or not, the tribunal has ruled. He has an option. He still has the appeal court and he still has the Supreme Court. So my question to you is, do you see maybe the court this time also looking at those technicalities and reinstating him as governor, or do you expect anything different?
Yeah, you see, you are talking of appeal court. And then we are now saying, like in Yoruba, we are now saying appeal court that this guy is coming to. You should be mindful of what we call substance of cases as regards technicalities. We are talking about, we are not ready to allow our judges to keep on living sequence for intention, as was said in Atiku's case.
Well, what options, Doctor, what options, sorry to keep interrupting you, but you keep making points that needs to be reacted to. What options are there? We have the case of Imo State, for instance. The sitting governor came in via technicalities from the court, and everybody was shocked at that ruling. We have this case now. So based on what is on the ground, our sentiments might be different, but what is on the ground is that the court has ruled. And as a democratic system, these are the options that are before the governor. What would you advise the governor to do at this time, the deposed governor, that is?
Definitely, he got to go to the appeal court, definitely. But what we are saying is, at the appeal court, we should be mindful not to always subjugate the substance of a case to technicalities. It is not right in any democratic setting. It is never right. Look at what happened. I will give you an instance. Look at what happened in America a few days back as regards the CSU saga. The judge did not look at the technicalities. He looked straight at the substances of the case. And we are now saying that, yes, this ruling had gone. There are some other rulings that we are still expecting. And judges should take cue from the rulings that we have gotten now in giving Nigerians a kind of justifiable rulings whereby we will not become a laughing stock to the world.
Doctor, I see your points, and I'm sure a lot of Nigerians share your sentiment as getting the courts to look at the substance of the case. Let's see what happens in the coming days. Thank you very much for speaking with us. We appreciate your time.
It's my pleasure. It's my pleasure being with you. Thank you for having me.